Hi everyone, Griff here for PCGamesN, and in this video we're bringing you a day one beginner's guide to Metro Exodus. We've been playing this post-apocalyptic shooter for the past week, and I've put together some key bits of advice so you can get off to the best possible start. We'll be covering things like what you need to craft early on, how to find secret missions, when the best time of day to play is, and more.
Yep, and we're going to be keeping things nice and spoiler free too. But if you want to spoil us, well, you can do so by subscribing to the channel and hitting that alert bell to see our videos as soon as they're out. We will be very spoiled by that. On with the video!
The first piece of advice we have for you is to clean your gun. It's easy to forget, but travelling around the post-apocalyptic ruins of Russia will obviously make your weapon dirty. Mud and sand and probably all kinds of bodily fluids get stuck in the receiver as you fight, so it's important to dust it off regularly, about every half an hour or so. If you don't, you incur a penalty on your damage and accuracy stats, and this can mean the difference between life and death. To give your shooter a good old polish, you need to find a workbench. You can't whip out a wet wipe and go to town just anywhere, unfortunately. Cleaning costs a few chemical resources, but these are pretty plentiful, and you can harvest them from green plants which grow just about everywhere. It's worth seeking them out to keep your gun in tip-top shooting condition.
Knives are an incredibly useful weapon to have in your arsenal. For starters, they're a one-hit kill on most enemies, whether that's people, mutated people, or angry dogs who are also mutated in some way. Plus, you don't have to get a headshot like you do with your bullets. A knife thrown anywhere will do the trick on all but the most armoured folks, so hurl one at the shoulder, into the leg. We haven't tried a butt shot yet, but we have no reason to think that wouldn't be an instant murder too. The second reason to use knives is because they're completely silent. A kill with a knife won't raise the alarm, even if your enemies are in the same vicinity of each other. So if you haven't got a suppressor on your gun, these are a great way to quietly take foes out at a distance. And finally, you can retrieve every knife you throw, so they're completely reusable. Don't believe the bullet hype. I say craft as many knives as you can, as often as you can.
Not every mission is indicated on the radar. There are some secret side missions that the game doesn't tell you about, but there's a simple way to find them. Basically, you need to eavesdrop. For instance, on your travelling steam train base the Aurora, just after the Volga section of the game, you walk past a carriage where a guy is teaching someone how to play guitar. You could walk on by, but if you hang around for a while and be nosy, they'll ask if you can go and scout out another guitar for them. Sure, it's a little creepy to just stand there in silence watching people have a convo, but usually you'll get a fun errand out of it and a reward from them at the end if you're successful. Although they're probably just trying to get rid of you, to be honest.
Why were you talking to Janice Ian?
I don't know, I mean, she's so weird. She just, came up to me and started talking to me about crack.
This is a quick one, but you can actually lower your weapon in Metro, and there's a good reason for that besides just your arms getting tired. Lowering your weapon increases your sprint speed, so you can get to where you're going faster. Just hold H for a bit to holster your gun and gain that boost. When you're crossing the vast expanses of Metro's open areas and you've lost your vehicle, which is something we do a lot, a little extra speed comes in quite handy. The second reason to lower your weapon is to change how people react to you. If you charge in somewhere with your firearm raised, people will, for some reason, take that as some kind of threat and respond with hostility. But go in there with your gun lowered and they'll be much friendlier. We haven't discovered any actual gameplay incentives or penalties associated with this yet, but there may be something in there somewhere.
Enemies drop weapons which can be picked up by holding E, but in doing so you'll swap out your current weapon. If you hold R instead though, you'll break weapons down for scrap and chemicals, which are the two components used in crafting things like knives, molotovs and medkits. Don't ask us how exactly you're breaking down these weapons. Maybe the game just does a quick time jump while Artyom gets his little screwdriver out. Who knows? Holding R over a dead enemy's weapon is also how you strip them of their attachments. If the person you killed has an attachment that you don't have, it'll show up in orange on the weapon icon. So hold R, and rather than convert it into parts, you'll simply take the attachment for yourself. Your new components will show up under a little exclamation mark, and you can affix them to your favourite gun at a workbench.
One of Metro's new features is a day and night cycle, and it really lets you shape how you want to play. To take advantage of it, you first need to find a bed. There are several to find in each of the game's open areas, and when you find one, you can choose to set your alarm for either daybreak or nightfall. Now, I tend to go for night because enemies have way more trouble seeing you. If you don't go near a light source or start tap dancing or something, you're basically invisible. Enemies' flashlights also make them much more visible at night, so you can track them way more easily. And finally, nighttime lets you take advantage of attachments like the night vision goggles and the night vision scope. Despite all of this though, I still find myself picking the day option occasionally because the game looks amazing during the day, and I like taking lots of pics of photo mode.
Speaking of taking pics, Metro Exodus's photo mode lets you snap to your heart's content. For the most part, it's easy to use. Just press F8 to launch it, R to hide the HUD, and F to turn your character model off and go into free cam mode. Just be aware that the depth of field effect might not be what you're used to. For us, no matter where we slide the focus distance meter, everything is always just a bit blurry. That's why you first have to choose a level of focus and then press F and move the camera manually in and out until what you want is nice and clear. The band of clarity is incredibly narrow, which is not ideal, but if you want those cool looking soft focus shots, that's the way to do it.
Don't worry if your PC is struggling to run Metro Exodus. When we first turned it on, our frame rate was hitting the single digits, even on medium settings. That's because optimizing the game for your PC requires delving into the video settings. The most intensive setting in our experience is shading rate. You can obviously increase it, but anything above level 1 made our computer chug. Leave it at level 1 and it'll still look great. We also had to turn off DirectX 12 in favour of DirectX 11, which again doesn't make a massive visual impact but makes the game run a whole lot better. With these two features changed, we could run the game on Ultra with a smooth frame rate. Metro Exodus has loads of visual settings, so make sure to play around with them. A simple change could make the whole thing run totally differently.
And there you have it, 8 top tips and tricks to help you get off to the best possible start in Metro Exodus. These are the things we wish we knew before we started playing.
Aw, those are some great tips, weren't they, Griff? Anyway, let us know how useful they are as you begin your journey across the post-apocalyptic Russia in Metro Exodus. But before your train leaves the station, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more from PCGamesN.